Hey everyone, I just wanted to give you a quick announcement on the content that I'm going to be making for this YouTube channel. So, this is something I've been working on for a long time, but I'm just starting to share with people. So, for a very long time in my classroom, again, I've been teaching for, I think this will be my 10th year in public school Latin. I've used a website, right? Early on in my career, I realized that if I made YouTube videos or put things on a website, it would help my students so that they could keep learning even when I'm not there. So, this came really in handy during the COVID pandemic where I was able to really shift flawlessly without really missing a beat in terms of sending my students material or making them videos, things like that. So it actually helped me because I didn't need a textbook. So the problem I've always found with textbooks is that they're very slow to react to change. So once a company prints a textbook, they're not going to make a reprint for a long time, regardless of what errors might be in it or what teachers would want. So at the end of the day, any of us using a textbook, we always make our own materials anyway, which is basically what I've done. So using this website allowed me to give all sorts of notes, images, videos, which is really where my YouTube channel came from, and practice problems, anything I thought my students would need. Well, what I've been working on for the past few months is trying to reboot my curriculum. I've used Ecce Romani for 9 years now, and while I like the textbook, I feel like I'm constantly supplementing it because it does have its flaws, like any textbook does. So instead of using it, I've actually switched gears, and I'm going to make my main curriculum a really cool textbook from the 1930s called The Road to Latin. So if you haven't heard of this textbook before, it was written by a woman named Helen Chestnut, who was a very famous Latinist, and I would highly encourage you to look her up. Very inspirational, very intriguing woman who wrote a really awesome textbook with her colleagues. So it's definitely a reading model textbook, just sort of like Ecce Romani along that line. But I think it offers more flexibility and more interesting stories. So a lot of the stories, they don't follow one particular main plot, which is something my students haven't really loved about Ecce Romani. I mean, we all love Uncle Titus and the different, the carriage falling into the ditch, but sometimes you just want something a little bit fresh. So that's where I'm going, and I'm starting in a new way with this. And I think it'll be really useful for my students as we go. So this is the site. It's called Nova Latin, and you can find it by typing in novalatin.weebly.com. Right at some point, I'll get rid of the Weebly. But if you were to look at it, I'm showing you here, it has a bunch of resources. So in the top right, you can see I put out of copyright textbooks. This is one from George Bennett that has about 100 different stories from the Greek world, all written in Latin, and I'll clean it up. There's some different grammar notes that I need to get rid of. But the English is there to help you. So you can use it, have fun with it. They're really cool stories. Some of them I've made videos for, some I haven't. But then if you look where I also have written out of copyright textbooks, you'll find The Road to Latin. So if you're a Latin teacher and you want to use this textbook, this is a digitized version of the textbook, right? And there's Helen Chestnut right there. I gave you a little intro on her. She's really, really awesome. And again, worth looking into. But if you look at it, this is something where I haven't added anything. Literally all I've done is I've gone through on Google Books. They had a PDF of this, which I didn't find overly useful. So I've turned it into a little bit easier and cleaner digital copy where you can click on images. You can copy and paste the notes more easily than you could in a PDF. But this is nothing I've added. This is all the work of Chestnut and her colleagues. There's images that come right from the PDF, her actual textbook, her notes, her discussion. It's a really cool textbook, something I'd encourage you to look at if you just want to start by seeing what she did. Have fun with it. Again, if you're a student and you want to read it, have fun. It's there for you too. But I've also included other resources like Jeffrey Stedman's website. Jeffrey Stedman has made a lot of great resources on Latin and Greek texts along with his notes, things like that. So there's a bunch of things there. If you go to where it says teacher textbooks, though, this is where I've put my own work. And you'll see Mr. C's Latin textbook. So you can find a table of contents, click on it. Everything there in red is clickable. So if you click on any particular chapter, you're going to find it. And I've given you a little description of what is in each chapter. But this is where I've taken The Road to Latin and I've updated it, right? So like, for instance, I've given an intro section on where Latin comes from, what it sounds like, things like that. How do we pronounce it, right? Just to give my students a good intro. I like to do this before I dive into anything when they first start Latin. But if you also look on the table of contents, you'll find the chapters. So what these are modified versions of the actual Road to Latin textbook. So it looks similar, but I've added different pieces. So vocabulary, I've added my Quizlets. So if you're a student or a teacher and you want to use it, feel free. They're all embedded there. And I've also changed the notes and the style of the story. So I like to do a cases highlighted tab where my students, when they first learn the different cases, they can see them. I've put English translations. I'll put translation videos, things like that. But these are my grammar notes. So these are not in the actual textbook. These are ones that I've added. And they're just different notes that I've found useful over the years of teaching to help my students as they go. I've also included Magistrula just because, again, I don't own Magistrula, but it's one of my favorite websites, just to give more practice. And the great thing about Magistrula is it'll give you as many practice problems as you want. The other thing that I've added are my culture lessons. So instead of attaching them to any particular chapter, I like to have more flexibility. I'm just putting them as standalone lessons. So if you were to click that tab, I've tried to organize it in the way that made sense to me. It probably needs some cleaning up. But if you were to click on any of these lessons, like for instance, this is my lesson on Boudicca, you can go through. It has different videos embedded, right? Kings and Generals, again, not my website, but one of my favorite YouTube channels for this stuff. It's got videos, some notes, images, anything I could find. I've also included other stories too, like for instance, Ritchie's Fabulae are something I like to work in as I go through the Ecce Romani textbook. I've put them here too. So for instance, if you were to click on that first one, the Perseus story, this is something I've actually added to my YouTube channel, walking you through the different stories. You can find them all here. You can find the actual stories. There's a cases highlighted tab to show you where the cases are. There's English translations. There's translation videos. These are ones that I've just made off my YouTube channel. But now it's all in one place, and I'll probably add key vocabulary too as I go. Just to make it easier for my students. I think I put Quizlets in there too of vocab, just anything I thought would help them. There's other things too that I like to read in class, Eutropius, Catullus, anything I could find. I've put in here, and I've made sure that it's all in one place, along with videos off different, YouTubers, like Latin tutorial, for instance, that I found interesting. So again, if this is something you're interested in and you feel like would be useful for you, if you're a teacher, feel free to go ahead and check it out. If you're a student and you just want to learn something a little bit different, or maybe you've already ended your time in Latin, but you're trying to keep learning, online, go for it. I've basically tried to mimic my own teaching style onto a digital format. So the goal for the site is to have it be free, right? So that Road to Latin textbook is out of copyright. So hopefully there won't be any issues there, but it's from, whatever that is, 90 years ago. I think we're okay. But it's free, right? So you can always use this site. If you're a teacher, feel free to use it to supplement your own work, right? If you want to use the Road to Latin and don't feel like digitizing it yourself, don't worry. It's right here for you. If you'd like to use some of the stories in class, but don't feel like reprinting them, use this site. It's totally fine. I just wanted to give something that I thought would be useful for teachers and students. And like I said, if you're a student and you just want to read something different, or maybe you're trying to learn Latin through YouTube, hopefully you'll find this useful. In my own experience, I haven't found too many sites online that are great for learning Latin, not necessarily a textbook, if that makes sense. I think this will kind of fill that gap and hopefully be useful. The flexibility is also something I'm trying to do. So since I'm using it in my own classroom, I'm going to be updating it, right? Particularly my textbook. You'll see that updated every day because I guarantee there's going to be typos, or I'm going to teach something and say, this is terrible, I want to teach it in a different way, or move things around, and that's the whole point. So the textbook will constantly be updated. I'll add whatever resources I have, because again, this is something I use in my classroom and my students are going to use. So if you're one of my students, get ready. You're going to see this this fall when we roll it out. But the other part is the community. So I'm very big in kind of amplifying what my fellow teachers have done. So if you have any resources that you think would be great for this site and you feel like sharing and getting your name out there, let me know. I'll 100% give you the credit. I'm not trying to take any credit for it. If you want to put it in your own website, maybe you have a website that you use Road to Latin resources, or maybe you just do different things with Latin grammar, let me know. If you want me to link it, I will happily put a link for it so that my students can find it and anybody using my site can find it. But I think anything we can do to try to amplify the Latin community is a good thing. So let's not silo all these websites. Feel free to put them here and I'll happily share it. Okay. So again, if you find this useful, go for it. Thank you for, watching and being part of my YouTube channel. If you want to, let me know anything or have any ideas of what you'd like to share, feel free to give me an email. It's listed below, or comment. But again, this is just something a little bit different and something that I'm going to be using in my own classroom that I thought I'd share with all of you, because I know many of you are Latin teachers. So hopefully, you'll find this useful. And again, if you're a Latin student, keep working through the Latin. It's really incredible that you're still taking Latin, and hopefully you're enjoying enjoying it. And again, maybe this is something that'll just help you a little bit down the road, either in class or just so you can expand your mind as you go. Either way, good luck and let me know if you have any questions.